Hey guys, welcome back. Tisha here, back for another chapter reading of section 132, A Child Bride Forced into Polygamy. It's by Helga Zeiner. Do me a favor and hit the like button as we jump into chapter 35. He made two calls, one after the other. First, he dialed Jake's number and waited with bated breath for him to pick up the phone. He was lucky on his first try. More than lucky. Jake seemed surprised to hear from him, but not as much as Richard had expected him to be. His greeting was jovial, mixed with a small dose of complacency, which was understandable considering how they parted, and a large dose of conviviality, which Richard couldn't quite interpret. Jake acted as if Richard was a close friend he was eager to talk to after a long absence, and not somebody who had not once called to apologize for insulting him and storming out of his house. Jake didn't even hint at Richard's hasty and inappropriate exit, but asked how he had fared since his visit last summer. Richard's internal warning system kicked in when Jake proceeded to ask him if all was coming along well with the development. He immediately wondered if Jake knew about the latest troubles or if he simply suffered a case of slight paranoia. There was no way Jake could know about the AO's recent request, and even if he did suspect it, it wouldn't really matter. Jake would grasp the reason for the call soon enough. Richard told him all is well, in fact, so well he was considering an expansion of his development, and that he might have an interesting proposal for him. What kind of proposal? Jake asked, not overly guarded. One that might be financially beneficial to you, Richard answered, using the old and worn out phrase that always worked with people like Jake. Jake said he would be delighted to meet, but Richard would have to come up to visit him again. I don't understand why he always has to come and visit. Why can't y'all just have the conversation over the phone? Because that's not like you're up the street. He has to go through all that stuff to get there, but of course he's going to oblige. Let's see. He would have to come up and visit him again if he didn't mind, as he had a lot of arrangements to make. And upon marriage, an upcoming marriage in the family had to be prepared. They agreed to meet in 2 days, on the 2nd of March. Then Richard dialed again and waited. When Daisy picked up the phone, he launched right into it, fearful she might hang up on him. Daisy, it's me. Please don't hang up. Richard, she snarled. I have a proposal for you. Let me guess, one that might be financially beneficial to me? Under normal circumstances, he would have laughed. It was just too funny how similar their talk was, but that would have aggravated her even more. So he let her rave on. Oh, wait, no, that can't be. You don't have any money left to make me an offer. Now I've got it. You want to make me a partner too? Great, except that this doesn't work either. I won't play along with Jake, and without him, I'm no use to you. Please listen to me, he pleaded. I've just called Jake. He has agreed to come see me the day after tomorrow. Oh, excuse me. He has agreed to see me the day after tomorrow. Congratulations. Lucky you. She meant to sound sarcastic, but he detected a certain amount of curiosity in her pointed comment. I'm driving up tomorrow, and I want you to come with me. Have you now lost it completely? Bear with me. I want you to accompany me and be a part of the negotiations. Just come and listen in on what I'm going to offer him. And if you don't like any of it, we'll walk away and I won't do it. I don't like it. I've changed my concept. Jake will have no say in the company. He won't even be a silent partner. I will offer him a deferred payment, but such a high one that he can't say no. She seemed to retreat a fraction from her firm stand. He'll refuse to see me. Remember, I'm only a woman. I'll insist on it. And if I don't agree, you'll drop your proposition altogether? One signal from me and we'll get up and leave the table immediately? Yes. Why? Then you lose your company. He nodded eagerly. I've thought about it. I don't like you being on the wrong side of the fence. It doesn't feel right. A long silence followed. They were both thinking hard. Why would I rather give up my company than have her consider me an asshole? He contemplated, while at the same time she probably wondered why it made him seem like less of an asshole if he took her along to the deal with what she called the devil. The offer to give it all up if necessary felt right, and he was confident that it was good enough for her. All right, we can come to an agreement. You won't have to go and see Jake by yourself. You'll have company, but I have one condition. Agreed. Don't you want to know what it is? Whatever. I said I agree. Daisy was a truly amazing woman. He should have expected to be blindsided by her. I'm sending Adam with you on my behalf. He will be my representative. And if he doesn't like what is being said, he can call the shots. Oh, shit, no. You agreed. It's not as crazy as you think. Adam was born into a polygamous community and knows what goes on there better than any of us. I want him to see Jake set up and analyze it based on his unique experience. Maybe I've been wrong all along and have been imagining things. I wouldn't want it on my conscience if you lose your company because I made unqualified assumptions. So it's a win win situation for both of us. Only if the devil is truly the Satan I expect him to be will we go under. Well, then y'all gonna go under because he's bad. He's really bad. It's gonna be interesting. Let's see. She had a very valid point. To agree to her condition was nearly physically painful for Richard, but it looked like this was the only solution to get her back on his side. I'm not sure if this is a good idea. He has absolutely no experience in such dealings. If you insist, I'll put up with him, but I will seal his mouth with duct tape. You will be civil to him, and even more important, you will heed his advice. That's what it's all about. Okay, okay. I said I'll take him along. I have to ask Adam first, though. He may not want to go there. Too many bad memories, as you can imagine. Call me back in an hour. Richard immediately crossed his fingers and hoped that the dear Adam would be a, that dear Adam would be a coward and chicken out. Oh, he wanted him to chicken out. Adam had barely closed the car door on the passenger side when Richard laid down the law without giving much consideration to conventional politeness or to Daisy's instructions. Just in case you plan to bore me with some sob stories about the poor lost boy, forget it. I don't like talking in the car and would appreciate it if you keep it to a minimum. See, this is the problem with Richard. Richard is such a jerk at times that it's like I find myself not rooting for him. Like, shouldn't we be wanting to root for this individual? And I find myself wanting him to lose it all because he's such a jerk. Why is he being so mean to Adam? You just sat there and had this epiphany last reading with that dream that you had about the feelings you had in regards to your parents and how you treated them. And now here you are being a jerk of a jerk as you just talk to Adam any kind of way. I don't like it. Adam had agreed to come along without needing much persuasion from Daisy, but Richard was quite worried. Of course, Adam was heavily influenced by her and would be overly critical of what was visibly wrong with Jake's family. He just hoped that Jake wasn't out to shock him again and was racking his brain as to how he could keep Adam out of harm's way. For cost saving reasons, he had decided to drive the whole way. Two plane tickets to Kamloops and a rental car for the rest of the trip were out of the question. It was bad enough that they had to spend one night in a motel because Jake had stuck to his usual 10 a.m. time for the meeting. On this trip, it would not be the high class Blue River Resort. I know you're not exactly overjoyed to have me replace Daisy, Adam replied, annoyingly good natured. I just hope I can be of some help. You bet I'm not, but let's humor her if we must. As long as you stay out of the conversation altogether, you will be a great help to me, and I won't mind having to babysit you. See, there he goes again. Your girlfriend's wish is my command. The little sucker laughed. I think you are jealous. What do you know about jealousy? Richard demanded to know while he took the turn on the Highway 1 East. From now on, they were driving straight to Kamloops, which was about 300 kilometers away, with only two turnoffs along the route. Even a half blind driver could find his way. He put the car in cruise control. It was early afternoon and the sun was out, reminding him to be grateful for small mercies. Mother Nature sided with him and kept the Coquihalla Pass free of slush and ice, which was not to be taken for granted. The 1st of March was still winter. I am well versed with many emotions, but particularly familiar with a person showing signs of jealousy. Adam answered Richard's question. Well versed? Where did this guy come from? Then he remembered. So you're saying places like Bountiful are a hot spot of passion? Who would have guessed? Adam settled into his seat. My mother had 18 sister wives, all competing for the attention of my father. Can you imagine the bitter intrigues, envious grudges, and petty quarrels between the women? We children were in the midst of this, often being used as pawns. Trust me, I know enough about the good as well as, and especially, the bad side of human nature. The idea of growing up in such an environment was too abstract for Richard to grasp, but for some reason it made him curious. Instead of reminding Adam of his initial demand to stay mute as long as he sat in the passenger seat, which he had voiced only a short while ago, he now urged him on to tell him more. Why on earth do those women not feel humiliated being treated like animals? You mean like chickens with one rooster? Or a herd of sheep with one ram? Adam asked very calmly. Yeah, it's not normal to live like that. It's normal to them. They grow up like that and have never known any other way. And that's the part that makes all of it hard, right? We have all these opinions like, how in the world could these women stay through this? And how could they put up with this? And why don't they this? And why don't they that? But at the end of the day, this is taught to them from birth. And it's basically verbally pounded into them over and over and over and over again. It's the rhetoric that they always hear. So of course, if you're not free thinkers, you think that this is the way of life, and it's sad. It's sad that that's what happens. Okay, back to the book. Come on. You can't believe that yourself. Think back to being a child. How do you gather knowledge? How do you form opinions? How do you see the world? Isn't it by being the center of a gradually winding circle? If this circle is filled with people who behave in a certain way, you adopt their ways. And if those people keep the circle closed, you will never know what lies beyond. You broke out. Why don't they? It's difficult enough for us guys, but practically impossible for the girls to escape the system. They are raised under much stricter rules than we are. Compared to their lives, I had quite a lot of freedom. You have to understand, boys will become priests after they turn 12, which means if they abide by the rules of the church and serve the elders, they have a chance to eventually create their own kingdom. There are three tiers of the kingdom: the telestial for the sinners of the faith who have to face the Lord's judgment, the terrestrial for the good but not perfect, and the celestial for the most righteous. Richard interrupted. Sounds like a lot of Christian model of heaven, purgatory, and hell to me. In Joseph Smith's cosmology, no hell exists, only eternal blackness, an unimaginable, terrifying thought for small children. I guess you could call it hell, just like the damnation of the not so faithful to act as eternal servants to the faithful could be called purgatory. In any case, if you do achieve the highest level, you will be rewarded by your own planet and become a god. Most boys like the thought that they will eventually have their own flock to control if they only behave and work hard until their elders allow them to marry. They never think about being cast out of their community. which is inevitable for most of them because they eventually become a threat to the few elders running the show. Let's face it, if one man has 20 wives, there will be 19 guys missing out. Adam turned sideways and looked at Richard, smiling without malice, but with playful mockery. But forgive me, I must remember your rule not to mention the Lost Boys. Yeah, right, Richard agreed, because otherwise he would have contradicted himself. So let's go back to the girls. Adam continued with an even wider grin, and Richard did not interpret his reminiscing, although he considered his sudden interest in Adam insider knowledge to be slightly slick. But how often did one have a chance to listen to the first-hand experience from a male bystander to a harem? The girls are much more demure to start with. No testosterone that makes them aggressive, so they are easier to mold. Ooh, it's something about, I get what he's doing here. He's filling him in, but it's something about the things that he's saying and the way that he's saying it that has me like my stomach in knots because this is what it really is. Let's keep going. Their training starts very young and it's rigorous, implemented by their many mothers who are devout believers in the righteousness of their husbands' actions because they don't know any better. Most of them had experienced a short period of being a favorite, only to be discarded as soon as the next wife, usually younger, wife gets married into their family. After that, they are forever chasing those short moments of glory and would do anything to be desirable again to the only man they will ever intimately know. I've seen it happen many times. They look at the other women as competition. They are enemies because they are trained to see it like that. And the children of the sister wives pose a threat to them. All the bitterness and frustration has to come out somehow. And it is the girls from the sister wives who bear the brunt of it. Often they are brutally bent into shape. There is no chance for them to there is no chance for them to develop naturally. Did you know that it is quite common in our compounds to use water torture on babies? What? They spank them and then hold their faces under a running tap until they have no more strength to cry. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. No, the women have no chance at all. They get broken in, as it is called, so early, they never start thinking for themselves. Adam's sincerity and the horror of what laid behind his explanation killed the snide remark that had lingered on Richard's tongue. He had wanted to ask Adam why he did not feel inclined to shake some of the girls out of their stupor when he had still been living there, but it didn't seem appropriate. After a short moment of silence, Adam surprised him with an unexpected depth of perception. I guess you're wondering what we boys did with our sexuality when we were growing up. Did the guy read his mind? Of course. Grape is not uncommon amongst the close knit community with so many youngsters herded together. Y'all, we've heard this. We have heard this. This book is supposed to be fiction, but she did say some of the accounts of it are true because of stories that she's been told. Here's my thing. We've read this in some of the other books. We've read about how fathers do things with their daughters or wives that they've picked up along the way's children. We've heard how they do things with um their boys. We've read how the siblings do things to one another. So he isn't lying here. This is, oh goodness gracious. I have to put up my little warning because I feel away reading this. Did the guy read his mind? Of course, grape is not uncommon amongst a close knit community with so many youngsters herded together. Again, the girls have to pay the ultimate price. When this happens, the boys are just kicked out, or if the girl is not very valuable, simply they get a slap on the wrist. The ultimate price? Sure, Adam said, pressing his lips into a thin line. When the attack happens, they may be badly damaged, or they are ugly anyway, in that case, they are killed. What did you think? They drove straight through Kamloops. Richard wanted to drive all the way to Clearwater to check into a cheap motel there. It was getting dark quickly. He concentrated on the road winding along the Thompson River, every now and then overtaking a truck or a slower passenger car. Adam's description of what he and his siblings had to endure while growing up had left a sour aftertaste in Richard. In the last 3 hours, they had chatted a bit more, but they took great care to avoid the subject. Richard did not know what Adam was working over in his mind, but could sense how he was drifting deeper into his probably not very pleasant memories. For himself, Richard started to concentrate on tomorrow's meeting. What happened in Bountiful had nothing to do with Jake's family, he silently assured himself, whenever small doubts raised their pert little hand to ask silly questions like, how can this be allowed to go on? Why doesn't somebody do something about it? And worst of all, why do you assume that Jake is not guilty of the same crimes? Soon after Little Fort brownish hardened snow accumulations appeared along the sides of the road. Sorry, reminders that winter was not over yet. As they were gaining altitude, the piles were getting more and more voluminous and fresher, indicating recent snowfall. The motel parking area was covered with white powder. They checked into their rooms, and Richard fell on a master so soft it must have been delivered from the manufacturer with a guarantee for a backache. It was not even 9 p.m. yet. He unwrapped the burger they had bought at the drive through opposite the motel, turned on the TV, and settled down for a quick meal while watching a rerun of Die Hard, and then Die Hard 2, which followed immediately after. Then he tried to go to sleep. There was no minibar, so he didn't have to fight the temptation of getting himself tired with the help of a potent drink. He really tried hard, but his mind was going in circles. What if Jake said no? What if Adam forgot himself and flipped out? But why should he? And back again to what if Jake said no? He was tossing and turning in an effort to find a position to relax. Damn that mattress. Damn that regular ticking noise from the vending machine outside that got more louder the more he concentrated on not hearing it. Damn the flickering neon light outside his window that penetrated his closed eyelids. Back to Jake again. Would he manage to convince him? Would Adam manage to keep his cool? He keeps on talking about Adam, but are you going to be able to keep your cool? Because Adam's kept his cool with how rude you've been, so I think he can handle Jake. He's been around Jake's his whole life. It was hell to get through the night, knowing he needed his sleep to be functioning properly at the most important meeting of his career. The more he forced himself, the wider awake he was. It must have been 5 in the morning before he finally fell into an exhausted sleep. Hmm. Okay. Whew. Chapter 36. Martha stood by the window all night, waiting for the sound of his pickup truck. The silence outside was excruciating, deadly. She was dying inside minute by minute. Why didn't Jake Jr. feel her anguish? He must know something was happening. He must know how urgently she needed to talk to him. Every fiber of her being was sending out signals, but he didn't come. Night settled into impenetrable darkness, and she seriously considered sneaking out of the house and running through the forest over to his small cabin. But it had snowed lightly and was completely calm. Her footprints in the dust on frozen ground would give her away long after she had reached him. Interesting thing is, the Jake isn't worried about her. Jake doesn't even know her name. I'm talking about his daddy, the bishop. Marion is going through her own stuff. She probably could have snuck off a little bit and just did that whole walking thing or played in the snow or something like that, because they're not really checking for her. Let's keep going. When morning broke, she stood there the whole time. She was still standing by the window, grateful that this night was finally over. Today was the first day of March, the month of the snow owl. Martha prayed that this animal's legendary wisdom would give her an inspiration. She just had to find a way to warn Jake Jr. of what his father had planned for him. Every cell of her being was urging her to hurry, telling her that there was precious little time left. Teaching all morning was sheer agony. As soon as school was finished, all the sister wives came to collect their children, and Martha shuffled from one foot to another, impatient to get rid of them and rush back to the office. Maybe the bishop and Marion were discussing his plans again, and she could listen in. Maybe they had postponed the exchange of the brides to a later date. No, not very likely. Something had to be done fast, or the whole family would starve to death. Therefore, her husband would want to go ahead with those weddings quickly. So it seems like Richard is going to come and save the day. Let's see. Martha was desperate to find out how much time was left and if she and Jake could be together one more time. She was trying to shoo out everybody quickly, insisting she had been ordered to go back to the main house. Emma was among the last to leave, scooping her pitifully scrawny youngest up in her arms and looking at Martha with silent urgency. Martha whispered to her that something was happening, but she needed more time to find out exactly what was going on and promised to tell her as soon as she knew something. Emma implored her to at least tell her if the food supply would improve soon when a sister wife suddenly appeared behind her. Martha indicated with a nearly undetectable movement of her eyes that Emma should be quiet, hoping that her own anxiety would not give her away. Emma shut her mouth reluctantly and left with a very troubled look on her face. Finally, back in the office, Martha laid out some homework in case Marion came in, and then moved the book aside once again. Instantly, she heard her husband talking on the phone. Yes, of course. I understand. Pause. Of course, Brother Lucas. I am filled with gratitude to you for you even listening to me. I am, as always, your faithful servant. Pause. Martha realized that the bishop must be speaking to a high authority. There was only one person in the whole world he would treat with such reverence. He was talking to the leader of their church, probably the leader of those mysterious gatekeepers, Brother Lucas. Realizing she now had a name for the person, a powerful surge made her body tremble. Her eavesdropping had now become high treason. But I do urge you to listen to me. After all I've gone through, it is only befitting that I can state my case. Winter has been tough on us. You can't imagine how it is here. It's a hard life in the wilderness, but I've tried my best. I have brought my family through the dark, cold winter all by myself, without assistance from the church. I know you wanted to test me, and I can assure you I have. Pause. He was listening. Martha held her breath so she would not miss a single word. The bishop sounded not so demure anymore, more like an obnoxious child, and she wondered how Brother Lucas reacted to that. She didn't have to wait long. But no, what are you thinking? Why should I fax you my account statements? I can barely scrape together a living here. Do you want me to pause again? No, of course not. That's why I wanted to send the girls down. Yes, to supplement my income. What's wrong with that? Yes, yes, naturally, I can vouch for each one of them. They are perfectly obedient. We have been schooling them ever since we've arrived here. Pause. Yes, yes, of course. We have trained, we have a trained teacher among us. Martha felt a sudden urge of pride, thinking he would now mention her name to the leader of the gatekeepers, telling him how well she was doing in replacing the deceased Catherine, but he didn't. He ignored her as usual. They are all really ready for marriage. They are 13 or 14, 15 at most, ripe as juicy peaches and ready to be picked by the brothers faithful to our church and dear to your heart. They will be ever so grateful to you for presenting such delicious, sweet young meat to them. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Blech. This is so disgusting, you guys. It's so transactional. It's bad enough that you're forcing them upon, but they really look at them like meat. He laughed. It was the same kind of superior snort she had heard when he had glared at her naked body. Martha cringed and suddenly did not feel proud at all anymore. What had she been thinking? Why should she be proud to help the bishop spread the lies of this church to his little ones? Didn't that make her an accessory to their ill teachings? The bishop or gatekeepers were not a mouthpiece of the Lord, as the children were led to believe. They were just men, and thoroughly disgusting ones at that. One of them was offering Jake's half sister on the marriage market. What had he called them? Ripe fruits? Delicious meat? While the other one was probably negotiating a good price for them. They are all attractive. The prettiest are the pair of twins. A short pause now. The twins? The ones that she just had? I'm confused. Never mind. Can't be that. Must be another set. 4 of them I need to exchange for brides for my sons, but the other 8 would be available for a certain fee to cover the cost of their upbringing and schooling. I would happily send them to you as a gift, of course, but everything is so expensive nowadays. To feed and clothe them costs me a small fortune. We do want to present them to our elders in good condition, don't we? He snorted again, then listened. The twins? Oh, they are little beauties. Y'all know he has a thing for twins. Lucas has a thing for twins. Y'all remember the last chapter? We heard that one of the twins got pregnant and now he doesn't want to see him until that twin drops her baby. So this might actually get him somewhere. Oh, I'm so gross. So grossed out. I think they're about 15. Perfect for marriage. Yes, I can make sure those 2 will be among them. Yes, that would be very agreeable. Pause. Sure, whenever you say. Next week would be perfect. I'm bound to you in the name of the Lord and our church. Your word is my law. Yes, 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 of course. Cash is acceptable. Not through the bank. No need for anybody to follow such transactions. American dollars will be fine. Yes, yes. Can't have it through the bank because they got overdraft. Martha felt sick when she thought what those poor girls would have to endure. They would be carted off to one of the hidden compounds the fundamentalists ruled with iron fists, to be married to much older men who might already be in their 70s or 80s, in a quick and loveless ceremony similar to the one she had experienced 2 years ago. Their husbands could make use of them and dominate them for the rest of their lives, demanding not only their subservience, but expecting their everlasting gratitude. They could inflict excruciating pain or soul destroying humiliation, all based on the promise of eternal salvation. Martha had been lucky enough to escape her husband's attention. She would never have to have survived the past 2 years if he had carried on using her body the way he had in the first few nights. Many of the girls would not survive the ordeal that awaited them. Martha's stomach turned as she wanted to vomit, but she had to pull herself together and continue listening because she had to think of herself now. There was nothing she could do for those poor, unfortunate girls, but there was a glimmer of hope for her to see Jake Jr. again. His father had mentioned doing the exchange next week. That gave her 7 days or nights, 7 more chances to see Jake. Shall we do it like that? Shall we do it like last time? We can bring all of them over the border on the old smuggler route. It shouldn't be a problem to find suitable matches for most of them. The twins might be a problem. Oh, I understand. Well, if you don't plan to have them registered, it won't matter. I see. You want them for your own family. Then there should be no delay. I will start to organize everything from there. Why don't you email the pictures of the girls you have selected to our dear and trustworthy John and Creston, and I'll do the same with my girls. Okay, I think she meant to say the guys, but it says girls. Okay, so let me reread it. Why don't you email the pictures of the boys you have selected? No, never mind, because they're exchanging girls. I'm wrong. Because he's going to give him girls for his son, and he's going to give him 8 girls 4 for the elders and 4 in exchange for his 4. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to correct the author. She knew what she was talking about. Um Trustworthy John and Creston, and I'll do the same with my girls. He will match up the passports to make sure we can keep them legal. So that's how it was done. They prepared those documents through an agent called John who matched the girls that were exchanged one for one. Her husband agreed with the gatekeepers. Sure, Brother Lucas, if you want, we can bring those girls to the border tomorrow. All the paperwork can be done later. Tomorrow already? Why the sudden hurry? Brother Lucas is gross. Ugh. That's how, oh my goodness, he's just ready to violate these poor girls. The reason for this quickly dawned on her. The sooner he did the exchange, the faster he would get hold of the money. But this urgency might be to her advantage. Surely he could not handle the transportation of 12 girls all by himself. He would have to take Marion along with him to look after them. Martha's excitement rose until his next sentence squashed her hope to be alone in the main house for a short while. No, I won't come myself, but I'll send my eldest son, Jake Jr. He is trustworthy and can take care of it. He's a good boy. And one of the brides is for him, so he can take his pick as soon as he sees them. Pause. Forgive me. I was forgetful. Of course, he'll accept your choice in this matter. Your word is our command. He'll be grateful for your guidance. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. So Brother Lucas is still trying to control things by saying he can't pick who he wants. He's going to assign it. Got it. After a lengthy affirmation of his boundless loyalty and gratitude, the bishop said his goodbye to the leader of the gatekeepers. Martha's mind was racing. All she could think of now was how to get hold of Jake Jr. She had to see him, had to talk to him, had to hold him one more time. Tonight. It had to be tonight. Tomorrow he would be lost to her forever. She had to give him something that would remind him of her for the rest of his life. Otherwise, her existence had no meaning at all. It is a shame that she's thinking that the only way that she could be remembered is by giving herself to him, when the times that they've spent together and the intimacy that they've had in conversation should be enough. But once again, she doesn't know any better. Far to the south, Brother Lucas placed the phone back in his cradle, stood up, took his white shirt off, and placed it carefully on his desk. He sat down again, leaned back in his chair, and let the warm spring breeze coming from the open window caress the parched skin of his exposed upper body. March was still cool enough to exist without the constant hum of the air conditioner. He swirled his chair towards the window, directly into the sunlight, and closed his eyes. The warmth was comforting. The older he got, the more he appreciated those rare moments when he felt totally relaxed, like the twins used to make him feel. Brother Jacob was such a fool. He deserved to suffer long Arctic winters, hardship, and misery. Uh, the temerity of him calling without making a prior appointment. Brother Lucas had been caught by surprise because today of all days he had been alone in the office, an exceptionally rare event, and had picked up the phone without thinking. Brother Jacob had aggravated him beyond imagination, actually to the point where he wanted to blurt out his decision to excommunicate him, but he held back. Brother Irvin had recently left for Europe, but the meeting with all of the other brothers had not yet taken place, and he must not be too hasty. So he had listened to Brother Jacob's proposal to send his daughters down to Arizona. He had briefly wondered if Marion had a daughter. If so, he wouldn't mind looking at her. But that had reminded him of his loss a long time ago, and he hated Brother Jacob even more. No way would he agree to anything that insufferable, impertinent man proposed. Brother Lucas had listened with grinding teeth, holding back all the spite he had wanted to hurl at the obnoxious, self-proclaimed bishop until he had mentioned the twins. So what if he did that one deal with Brother Jacob? Get the girls sent down to the church, And if the twins were really only 15 and as pretty as promised, the least he could do was try them out himself. It is so sick. It is, I just, his skin tingled in the sun. He couldn't feel the warmth, he could feel the warmth spreading. So the Lord hadn't punished him after all. Oh my goodness. He rewarded him again with a new set of twins. It could be expected that they would be even better than the old ones. Hail to the Lord. Y'all really are gross. This is what. Mm. And damnation to the bishop. Brother Lucas would not send any money to him. He would accept the girls, would not exchange any of them, and would then proceed to punish Brother Jacob. He could make a decent case out of this. To instigate such a marriage exchange and demand money from the gatekeepers, for it was unheard of. It was not Brother Jacob's place to arrange something like this. It was the prerogative of the church elders, and Brother Jacob was not one of them. In fact, very soon, he would not even belong to the church anymore. And that is where we're ending it for today, you guys. Good 2 chapters. I enjoyed that. I think that it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. I'm gone. Let me know what you thought of these readings. Until next time, peace.